I know I don't have a lot of time, so let me just get through these. Let's look at this right here. Book of Cosmogony, Oahpe. It says, vortexia in the atmosphere. This is actually a line from this book. Vortexia in the atmosphere will combine oxygen and hydrogen, and an explosion ensues, which is called thunder. No. What causes thunder and lightning? Lightning is an electrical discharge caused by a buildup of static electricity in clouds. Thunder is the sound produced by the rapid heating and expansion of the air by lightning strike. Don't come in here trying to say that means it exploded. Don't do that to yourself. Just let him be the embarrassed one, brothers. Don't come in here saying that means it was an explosion. It's not. Okay, here's another line that I quoted. If two corporeal, that means material, substances are rubbed together quickly, friction and heat result. This is a manifestation of vortexia, this energy that they say is from the swirling and the production, basically what he plagiarized from Cartesian cosmogony. But the problem is he didn't know that we were going to make advances in thermodynamics and in physics. He was too pompous. He thought, well, who cares? I'll be dead by that time. And I'll have a bunch of people reading this wonderful book, Fragapati, SpaghettiOs, and everything. So yeah, we do know that this is incorrect because in science, in physics, friction speeds up molecules on the surface of objects rubbed together, okay? The speed of the molecules cause heat. There is no vortexia energy spinning within objects, which is released due to friction. I do want to say this too. Also in the book of Cosmogony, it says that this, I guess they call it corporeal matter. It's basically material. In that book, John Newborough, his God, says that that basically the matter has no substance. It's inert. It has no power, no movement. So sad because John Newborough just didn't think, well, they're going to find out about molecules and quarks and atoms and all that good stuff, electrons. There's all kinds of things going on. I mean, there's 3 states of matter, but sadly, John Newborough just said, I'm going to just put this together and I tried my inventions. I tried my stapler, my calculator, nothing worked. This is my last roll of the dice and it hit. Okay, so I also want to say here, this is a part of the laws of thermodynamics. Kinetic energy, meaning the friction is kinetic energy, basically movement, can be completely converted to thermal energy by friction, but the reverse is impossible. So I wanted to say that because he's saying that when you do the friction, let me go back. In the book of Cosmogony, Newborough says his God right here, you see the God right here. Actually, this is, I don't know, Thunderthoth. I forgot his name, but basically he says that the friction brings out something. No, the friction is, the heat is caused by the molecules moving, speeding up. Nothing is being brought out. Is heat being brought out? Yeah, that's why he's wrong. He thought, oh, I feel the heat coming out, so I'm just going to say vortexia comes out. No, the heat is from molecules being sped up on the surface of the object. So it's all fake. Why didn't Jehovah and his angels know about thermodynamics? Well, real research and studies on thermodynamics only began in the 19th century. That's in the 1800s when he was already doing, I don't know, he went on gold rushes and he was inventing calculators. He didn't get around to finding out the science behind thermodynamics, unfortunately for him, because he would have plagiarized it. He didn't know anything about it. So let me just keep going here. I got this. John B. Newborough was not, by the way, this is one of his spirit drawings of one of the gods. This is an actual spirit drawing that he did. John B. Newborough was not very familiar with the later research and scientific development of thermodynamics, astronomy, and physics, which were not as advanced in the 19th century when he was alive compared to now. That's why it's not in the book of Oahpe. This explains the silly statements his God Jehovah and his team of angels supposedly instructed him to type spiritually. This is proof that it was not God's, it was erroneous things Newborough learned, or that he thought he knew about. Okay, so as you see, the laws of thermodynamics, just going through them, he knew nothing about it. And you can see it all through that book of Cosmogony. I mean, he didn't know about a lot, but it's very apparent when he's like, the sun doesn't give light. There's no, where does
3 minutes? 3 minutes.
Energy needs to be created, and we need, it's used up. He knew nothing about it. The first and second laws were formally stated in works by German physicists. You see, these are the ones who actually did the research and created the laws. 1860, after John Newborough was dead, 1906 to 1912. So, yeah, let me get my last 3 minutes in to do this and just talk about time. Actually, he definitely didn't know anything about time. He was way off with the age of the Earth scientifically. These brothers keep on saying science, 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 but you're doing a lot of science talk, but this guy is ridiculous. Here's a Cartesian cosmology that I mentioned that he plagiarized. Descartes' vortex theory of planetary motion proved initially to be one of the most influential aspects of Cartesian physics. Can't get through that fast enough, but you see what I'm saying? Newborough that was from the 17th century. So he got all that under his cap, threw it in as vortexia, but he couldn't figure out the rest of the stuff that came along, like nuclear fusion, astronomy that is actually being used to figure out the age of the sun, and all other type of sciences that we have today. I do want to get down to this part, if I can, to talk about who he was. John Ballou was actually a spiritualist and called himself a medium. And during that age, that time, everyone was saying they could talk to spirits. This is actually a book that he wrote, family. He was asking a so-called spirit questions, and he wrote this book saying these are the answers from a spirit. Questions and answers from Spiritalis. He was pretty much a charlatan. As you see, that ridiculous science, nothing divine would have given him those ridiculous answers that the sun doesn't give heat to the earth. He lied when he was interviewed by New York Times. This is the article. I do have the article. It's too late for me to pull it up, but I do have it available if anybody needs it. Newborough lied when he was being interviewed by New York Times. He said that he never knew anything about Kemet, of the ancient religions. He said that he knew nothing about any ancient religions, but in this excerpt from a website that's for Oahpe believers, Newborough's adventurous spirit took him to California gold fields in 1849. He shared part of his good fortune, yada, yada, yada. Let's get down to this part. He witnessed deplored injustice, bigotry, especially toward Chinese in general, grab for personal fortune. He teamed up with Scottish-born John Turnbull. I wanted to get to the part where it says down here. Look at this part. After a couple of more years of living in a tent and adding considerably to his gold fortune, he sailed to Europe, China, India, Africa. But he's a liar. He's a liar in the article. He says, I don't want to replace any, by the way, in the article, he says, I don't want to replace the Bible or any religions. I just want to show add to it and explain it. He tried to take over. Don't let him take your mind.
That's it. Thank you.
Don't let him take you. I am closing out.
Yo, y'all can't say nothing, man. I'm the only one supposed to be talking. Nobody shouldn't be talking.
Yeah, thank you very much. So that's correct. Thank you so much.
HOK, the House of Consciousness, hosted by the one and only Sadness.
All right, everyone. Are y'all ready? Go take a quick break. We're getting ready to get it in on part 2. Give me 2 minutes and we're going to rock. Part 2. Let's go. So Cosmon, are you ready, brother? Time will start when you start.
Share my screen.
Okay, let me get it. Screen is sharing, brother.
All right, just quickly, I'm gonna just debunk her whole talking point.
All right, time start.
Point is that the sun gives heat to the earth. If that is objective proof, then why is the space between the face of the sun and the face of the earth freezing cold? Objective proof. She don't know what she's talking about. This is from NASA Webb Telescope. By the way, Webb Telescope is not going out our galaxy. It is going towards the sun, and it is getting colder right now, right this second. James Webb Telescope reached its final operating temperature below 7 kelvins or minus 447 degrees Fahrenheit. So let me share my screen right here. Now, this is my round 3, right? In this debate about science and time, creation and cosmogony of the solar system, right? This is what this debate is about. The science of time, creation, and cosmogony of our solar system. But instead of trying to prove their literature scientifically and objectively, or proving that the Commission text has any merit whatsoever, my opponents ignorantly want to debate a book that they haven't read. When someone argues a topic they don't know about, it's called a logical fallacy. Specifically, when it's an appeal to ignorance or an argument from ignorance. See, the Hoteps hope that by using your own personal racism, prejudice, ignorance, and black bias against you, that they could just easily move the goalposts and nobody would notice, right? Hoping to turn this scientific lecture into a soap opera. But see, trick no good. See, we only care about what the text say, not your personal opinion about what the text say. And notice, they went to the text and it ain't saying nothing about cosmogony at all. See, you might be able to get away with your own personal eisegesis with those who share your indoctrination, but attempting to legitimize a myth, an unfactual belief during a debate is not only irrational and oxymoronic, but is a foolish endeavor. Huh? Stop the stupidity. What does it mean to eisegete? It is the act of interpreting a text by introducing one's own ideas, agendas, or biases, or adding one's own subjective opinion. But see, that really becomes a problem when the so-called priest of the false god, remember, we talking about science, they talking about God, right? That becomes a problem when the priest of the false god, Jabari, says, and I quote, the Kemetic spiritual form is one that exists primarily in allegory. So no one will, he says, so no one will actually argue that Heru, or as the Greeks would call him, Horus, was a living person, Jabari. But funny, that's exactly what they were arguing about on the show, and that's exactly what the real commission said. But what Jabari doesn't know is that 143 years ago, Oahpe already prophesied and exposed that he and the so-called fake Kemetic wise men today in 2024 would be doubting the reality of their own God's book of knowledge. Headshot. I sent a storm into the colleges of learning, and the wise professors held their heads up, didn't you, Jabari? What you say? You said, I doubt the person of Osar. Literally. I doubt R.I.S.E. Literally. And don't they always say this? Aren't they just merely a principle or an aspect of nature? See, Oahpe revealed that 143 years ago that you and your LGBTQ God are fake. Now deal with it. Now remember, they trying to eisegete a myth. What is a myth? It's a widely held but false belief. Or idea. Our myths are true or false. In general, myths are metaphorically and symbolically true. Yeah. But they are factually and literally false. So when people believe that a myth is literally true, they can be said to have a certain kind of religious indoctrination. We call it Egyptomania. See, in an attempt to indoctrinate you, as much as they have been indoctrinated, you will hear them using terms like little subjective terms, like it's a representation or a personification. Also using the word symbolic and metaphorical a lot to try to hide the fact that they actually have no objective proof of their claims. Now, watch. In the Commission text, Atum says he creates all things. Let's see how he does it, right? From the hymn of Atum, right? When I first began to create, when I alone was planning and designing many creatures, I copulated with my own fists, I masturbated in my own hand, and I ejaculated in my own mouth. Hold on, pause, P. Diddy. That's not cosmogony, that's just crazy. Now let the creator show you objectively, not through a myth, how a planet is created. This is how creation and cosmogony should look. Now pay close attention. There is no cartoon character sitting in space giving himself a blowjob. You boys been duped. Now, as shown before, right, the earth was a molten fireball. Where does the seed of the building blocks of life come from then, Cosmon? Book of Jehovah. Book of the Creator. In the next age, I bring the earth in the Simu or spring, and it is right for the bringing forth of the creatures. And I bestow the vegetable and the animal kingdoms, further showing a system in order to all creation. But what is Simu? Simu is commingled earth, air, water, heat, and thick atmospheria, protoplasmic-like and colloidal-like substance. What does it mean? What is protoplasm? Protoplasm is the living part of a cell, including cytoplasm, nucleus, and the other organelles. What does it mean to be colloidal? Well, one substance consisting of microscopically dispersed insoluble particles is suspended throughout another substance, like semen. Now, watch the Commissions get all excited when I mention semen. Now, has science found this Simu? Yes. And even though science hasn't proved it sufficiently to itself, its theory about where Simu comes from is exactly correct. See, we know what a Simu, but they call it star jelly. Star jelly is a gelatinous substance sometimes found on grass and less commonly on the branches of trees. How I get in trees? According to folklore, it is deposited on the earth during meteor showers. Now that we've shown that there is a process to all things, even creation, let's get an explanation from the Creator itself, how it creates life. Book of the Creator, tell me, oh my Creator, where did life come from? This unseen within me that's conscious of being. Tell me how all the living came into life. Creator heard the words of man, and he answered them saying, let a sign be given to man so that he may comprehend Simu. When the earth and the shores by the water, and the waters also were covered over with commingled atmosphere and corporeal substance, or DNA. This substance was called Simu, or the building block, because by his presence, the Creator quickened it, Simu, into life, and in that way, he made all the living, right? Both the vegetable and animal world. So if you want to understand this, think the multi-regional theory plus panspermia, but on the fractal quantum level. And this also goes to show R.I.S.E, and proving why some meteors carry the building blocks of life and some don't, right? But let's look at the children's story of Hermopolis, right? Thoth, Tahuti, in the form of a bird, lays an egg in outer space. Now, can any of these trans-African scholars explain scientifically and objectively, I would love to hear this, how a male bird lays an egg, right? This ain't about myth. This got to be real. So how does a male bird lay an egg? See, while on the other hand, everything in our text can be proven objectively, with the bonus that science only backs up what we saying. See, the book of the Creator, all was, is, ever shall be. The all spoken motion was and is and ever shall be. And being positive force was called he and him, the all motion was a speech. First, we must understand that the Creator explains itself as all space and time. All was, is, ever shall be. That is past, present, and future. This is conscious intelligence declaring that it is space and time. So to prove this statement, we must ask ourselves a very simple question. Is all time measured in a sequence of events? Yes. Source. Time is a sequence of existence and events. right, that occur apparently irreversible from past, present to future. So not only does science agree, but objective reality agrees with Oahpe, right? Second, Oahpe asserts that motion was and is and never shall be. So the question is, are all things in motion? And does science back this assertion? Yes. Huh? Source, why is everything in motion? Why? The gravitational force and the electromagnetic force ensure that large objects are in motion, while the weak and strong nuclear forces ensure quantum world is constantly in motion. See, this scientific source further proves that it's the positive force, the he-him electromagnetism, that keeps all things in motion. Again, proven objectively and scientific that Oahpe is just on a higher level. And thirdly, Oahpe claims that the all spoke. To speak is to express or to bring forth. And since all things are made of elements and chemicals, we must now ask the question, do elements make audible sounds? Yes. And again, science proves Oahpe correct. Do elements make sounds? And what do elements sound like? Source, using a technique called data sonification, a recent college graduate has converted the visible light given off by the elements into audio. Look, elements emit visible light when they're energized. This is the periodic table of elements with photos of atomic spectra. But see, what Asar don't know is that data sonification, right? The atomic spectra or light of atomic elements is the key and octave of each element. And this is how the all speaks. Headshot. See, the system of order and creation revealed in the book of Sky, Earth, and Spirit, while simple enough that a child can understand it, is light years above whatever Egyptian science is in clarity and application. See, the system of creation is sound, creates motion, creates force, creates substance. See, it's simple, ain't it? But quite clever. See, in one fell swoop, Oahpe not only clears up the misunderstandings of Newtonian science, but also the theory of relativity, or E equals mc squared, which is the equation for the radiation of energy from matter. But see, what none of the gods of Egypt have enough intelligence to tell you, is how energy gets into matter. Source, James McGill, Study of Oahpe, Book of Safa, the description of Agni, the emblem of corporeal mass dissolution and the escape or the release of the potent power or energy within. See, here we have the statement of the equivalence of mass and energy, or Einstein's E equals mc squared for a special theory of relativity. It was in Oahpe in 1881, long before Einstein formulated his equation in 1905. See, equals mc squared is a lot of energy released from a little mass, but M equals EC squared is a lot of energy compressed into a little mass. You ain't got that. Where is Patay now? Gonna take another snowball to the face? Spit out a tough net? I bet you did. Remember, sound creates motion, creates force, creates substance. The astounding part is not only does science 100% agree with Oahpe, but science created a whole field of study to prove it. How many of you have ever heard of the science of cymatics? I had to take your shit, Osar. You wasn't using it right. The sound of cymatics, sound of life.
No profanity, brother.
Oh, my bad. Cymatics is the field of study that focuses on visible vibrations and sounds. You wasn't rocking this right, Asar. Formerly cataloged as a subset of modal phenomena, cymatics is the evidence of the universal interconnectivity of all things. So a sound creates motion, creates force, creates substance. Well, the next logical question should be, well, what is the initial sound of creation? And how does that tie into creator and Oahpe? Source, the significance of Om. Om is the primordial sound from which the universe